As always, secret graft dossier that angered Uhuru. This is, we understand, more heads. The Standard is reporting, expected to roll in a new wave of anti-corruption purge after President Kenyatta received a damning dossier from a team headed by the Attorney General on rotten elements inside his administration. That is shortly before he flew to the U.S. That story, you can check it out in more detail in page 13 of the Sunday Standard. There has been some reports coming out of State House, not on mainstream media, if you will, of some people that have been that the president is trying to crack the whip against. Some people being remanded because of 100 million. I don't know what you know about this.
Well, you know, the headline is very interesting. The president is furious. But in my view, if the president is furious, it counts for nothing if there's no action after that. Because naturally, any human being is furious when you give people positions of responsibility and they do not deliver. But what the president does after the fury, righteous fury, I suppose, is going to be the crux of the matter. Like, for instance, in the next 1 week, we are going to be implementing IMF interventions.
Yes.
Is the president furious at Rotich? Probably is. But has he fired him? No. So for folks from Mosocho, who refer to me as the Duke of Mosocho, they're waiting for the president to fire these people. For folks in Western Kenya, in the Sugar Belt area, they're waiting for the president to fire those 3 ministers who came up with the interventions which are a threat to national security. So the president can be annoyed all day in the US, in the UK, or even in China, but if he doesn't crack the whip, it counts for nothing.
Mark, what do you share the sentiments? What is your take on this so-called Kihara hit squad?
Well, for me, my mind is very clear in terms of how to judge this particular president. It is to judge him based on the precedents that he started fighting the fight against corruption. For me, he is consistently, week upon week, month upon month, built on his fight against corruption. He has not ceased in arresting, in facilitating the arrest of those who break the law, in pushing for the investigation, in trying to push EACC to do its job. And as we sit here today, there is no other president in the history of this republic, his father included, who has fought against corruption this much. Is the president furious? I believe so. Are the rumors on social media about remand in certain cells? I think they're true, because no one has quite come out to refute them, and the grapevine tells me that it's true. And if that is the case, then we must also remember what the president said about his own brother in the wake of allegations that his brother may have been involved in the illegal importation of sugar. And the president said if he is guilty, then he needs to carry his own cross. And the president needs to be seen to be the one leading from the front, because he did say that young people who see their fathers participating in corruption should be the ones to report their fathers doing so. So I expect the same of our president. So I expect upon his return, and even before his return, I expect that the people who've been mentioned in this dossier should find nice homes in the cells of Nairobi police stations, so that we can see the wheels of justice continue to turn. He cannot stop. You see, what needs to happen is that he needs to have more arrests, and then he needs to have more convictions, and that needs to continue for the next 4 years. If he stops at any time, we lose this fight. So he cannot stop.
But Ben, before having any arrests made or any convictions, there are people who've been mentioned that they can actually request to go home, who do not need to go through the criminal justice system, where you don't need Kinoti to come into play.
So you
don't
believe
need EACC.
He could do more?
I mean, there are people who are his direct appointees, members of the cabinet secretaries, and the principal secretaries.
Yes.
Let's zoom into one. Let's go to the National Treasury. How come you've got Rotich coming up with policies day in, day out that do not reflect the interest nor capture the aspirations of Wanjiku, and is still in office? People have been complaining every day about the cost of oil. In the next 2 weeks, it's going to be 130. But
maybe do you think that the way you interpret that is the same way the president does? Maybe what Rotich is doing is in line with the president's policy.
then in that case, he needs to come up and take responsibility for every single decision made by the people he's appointed in office. And then we forget about the war on corruption.
Has